Have you ever just stopped to think about the absolute biological magic that's happening inside you with every single move you make? I mean, every step, every blink, every little twitch? Well, today we're diving deep into that incredible story, how our bodies create movement from these tiny little protein engines all the way up to the grand architecture of our skeleton. Seriously, think about it. Right now, as you're watching this, maybe you shift your weight a little, or you reach for your coffee. What is actually going on in there to make that happen? It's not just one thing. It's this beautifully complex symphony of signals and structures and pure energy, all firing at once. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's clear something up. We throw around the words movement and locomotion like they're the same thing, but in biology, there's a key difference. Movement is pretty much any change in posture, right? Waving your hand, nodding your head, but locomotion, that's a specific kind of movement that actually changes your location. You know, walking, running, swimming. So here's the line to remember. All locomotion is movement, but not all movement is locomotion. All right, now that we've got that straight, let's start peeling back the layers on this everyday miracle. We're going to look at the power source, the framework it's all built on, and exactly how it all comes together. So first up, let's talk about the engine. And believe me, what an engine it is. Your muscles make up a staggering 40 to 50% of your total body weight as an adult. Just let that sink in. Nearly half of you is dedicated entirely to one job, creating force and motion. So let's meet this amazing engine. We're going to check out the different types of muscle, and then we're going to zoom way in to see how they pull off their incredible feats. You know, our bodies have three main types of muscle, but for today, we're really going to focus on the ones you're in charge of, the skeletal muscles. These are the ones attached to your bones. They look kind of striped under a microscope, which is why they're called striated, and they are the powerhouse behind every voluntary thing you do, from walking across the room to lifting your phone. Okay, let's zoom in. Picture a big, thick rope. That's your muscle. Now that rope is made of smaller ropes bundled together. Those are called fascicles, and each of those is made of even smaller threads, which are the actual muscle fibers. Now, inside these fibers is a really important little storage tank called the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and its job is to hold on to calcium. Calcium is basically the on switch for every muscle contraction. That's going to be super important in a second. And here we are. This is the heart of it all. How does a muscle actually contract? How does it get shorter? The whole secret lies in something called the sliding filament theory. And honestly, the best way to imagine it is to think of trillions of microscopic little crews inside your muscle cells, all pulling on ropes, all at the exact same time. So who are these tiny crew members? Well, let's meet our two main characters, two proteins named actin and myosin. Actin makes up the thin filaments. You can think of these as the ropes. And myosin makes up the thick filaments. This is the crew, complete with little arms that do all the pulling. Literally, all the action happens when these two interact. And this is where they live. This beautiful, perfectly organized structure is called a sarcomere. It's the basic functional unit of a muscle. See those alternating dark and light bands? The dark ones, the A bands, that's where you find the thick myosin filaments. And the lighter I bands, that's where the thin actin filaments are. This super precise arrangement is the whole secret to getting a powerful, coordinated pull. So, here it is, the big idea. The muscle gets shorter not because the proteins themselves are shrinking or squishing down. No, it contracts because the thin actin filaments are sliding past the thick myosin filaments. They slide over each other, pulling the ends of the whole unit closer together. It's a slide, not a shrink. That's the key. So check it out. Here's how it all goes down, in 4 basic steps. First, a signal zips down from your nervous system. Second, that signal hits the muscle and tells those little storage tanks to release all that calcium we talked about. Now, think of calcium as the key that unlocks the actin ropes. Third, once the actin is unlocked, the myosin heads can finally reach up and grab on, forming what's called a cross bridge. And fourth, the power stroke. The myosin heads pull the actin filaments inward, just like a tug-of-war team, and that shortens the entire muscle unit. And here's the visual proof that it's all about sliding. When the muscle contracts, look at what happens. The I bands, which are just actin, they get smaller. But the A bands, where the myosin is, they stay the exact same length. It's because the myosin filaments aren't changing size at all, they're just reeling in the actin filaments, pulling those Z lines at the ends closer and closer together. It's so cool. So what about relaxing? Well, it's not just a matter of letting go, it's actually an active process. The cell has to work to pump all those calcium ions back into storage. As soon as the calcium is gone, the binding sites on the actin ropes get covered up again, the myosin has to let go, and the filaments just slide back to their resting position, all ready for the next signal. Okay, so we've got our incredible muscle engine. But an engine by itself is pretty useless, right? It needs a chassis, a car body to actually move. And for us, that's our skeletal system. It's the rigid framework that our muscles pull against to make all this movement happen. The adult human skeleton is nothing short of an engineering marvel. It's made up of 206 distinct bones, and every single one has a specific job to do, whether it's providing support, protection, or acting as the levers for all this movement. We can basically split this whole framework into two main parts. You've got the axial skeleton, that's your central core, think skull, spine, and ribs. Then you have the appendicular skeleton, which is pretty much everything else that's attached to that core, your arms, your legs, and the girdles that connect them. Now, a huge role of that axial skeleton is protection, and the skull is the perfect example. It's not just one single bone, it's this intricate puzzle of 22 different bones all fused together to create this incredibly strong protective helmet for our most important organ, the brain. And it's the same idea with the rib cage. We have 12 pairs of ribs that form this flexible, protective cage around our heart and lungs. They all work together to shield these vital organs from damage while still letting us breathe. So let's put it all together. The bones give us the structure, the muscles provide the force, but the joints are where all the action happens. They act as the pivot points. Now, some joints, like in your skull, are fibrous and don't move at all. Others allow for a little bit of movement, but the ones we really care about for getting around are the synovial joints, like your knee or your shoulder, which are filled with fluid and let us have a huge range of motion. This whole system is unbelievably tough and resilient, but it's not perfect. So let's take a quick look at what can happen when parts of this complex machine start to have problems. These disorders can really affect any part of the system. In the joints, you can have arthritis, which is a painful inflammation. In the bones, osteoporosis can make them weak and more likely to fracture. And in the muscles themselves, conditions like muscular dystrophy cause them to break down, while something like myasthenia gravis can mess up the nerve signals that tell the muscles what to do in the first place. It's a powerful reminder of just how delicately interconnected this whole system really is. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? We've gone from this simple act of taking a step all the way down to the microscopic dance between actin and myosin, and then all the way back out to the skeletal frame that gives that dance meaning. It really is a perfectly coordinated symphony. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. The next time you get up and just walk across the room, take half a second to appreciate what's actually going on. Trillions and trillions of tiny protein engines, all firing and releasing in perfect harmony, coordinated by your nervous system, pulling on this masterfully designed skeletal frame. It's not just walking, it's a biological masterpiece in motion. I really hope you'll think of it that way too. Thanks for joining me.